So just come out to my usual sit spot in the garden. And if I'm honest, I'm struggling a bit this morning. And I share that because I think it's important to acknowledge and accept the more difficult feelings and to give each other permission to feel them as well. Everything isn't all joy and sunshine all of the time. We run into sort of choppier waves, sort of rough patches from time to time, and that's okay, that's part of life. And particularly at the moment, I think there are going to be times for everybody when we're faced with uncomfortable feelings, whether that's sort of anxiety or frustration or fear or anger or possibly all these things kind of seated out of sort of fear and uncertainty. But just acknowledging that they're there and allowing them to be there. I'm noticing there's a tendency to just question why it's there. Why aren't things different? What's the source of this, and how do I fix it? That there's this is where the mind goes to when it has these uncomfortable feelings, and that's just normal, that's natural. I'm just sort of watching that going on. But then I'm just sitting in nature. There's bird song all around, and wonderful smells. These plants have just let this bit go really wild, and it's certainly risen to the occasion. It's a proper wild patch. It's pretty much impenetrable. A huge amount of sticky weed and creeping buttercups and things. But the smells are just lovely. There's something can smell green, then this smells green. It's a really sort of lush, fresh growth smell about it. I don't know, is that the smell of spring? If there is a single smell that is spring. Just these lovely bright flowers almost smiling at me. Sort of almost like they're looking, sort of curious. Some part maybe of my own experience kind of reflected back at me in what I see in those flowers. Just lots of bees very busy on the flowers in this tree as well, the blossom in this tree. It's particularly the bumblebees. They were very, very busy, to the point where I thought there was a swarm. It's just a sort of cool morning and quite a lot of activity. It's not. And there's a very real sense, just as you're sort of noticing what's here, that those other bits are just starting to sort of loosen off a bit, that they're not kind of dominating the foreground, all those uncomfortable feelings and things. They've not gone away, but they're also here. That's not a sort of all-encompassing feeling anymore, and the fog has sort of lifted slightly, and that's helpful. because just by changing the way that you're sort of relating to it, that you're not you're observing, you're sort of being curious about it, and not kind of acting in it, but just watching, then it feels as though you can be far more effective and not so much a kind of boat being battered around by it. But it's just that it's sort of happening and passing through, and if there are things that I need to do to any changes that I might need to make, or things that I can do for myself, and I can then be quite compassionate towards myself and say, what do I need? What would be really helpful? And that's very useful. And it's not always easy to do that without a little bit of space. I do find just sitting with the trees and the plants and the birds and things that it's a lot easier to be, to sort of embody and incorporate that sense of care and compassion towards myself. It's, I sort of feed off what's around me, and that sort of sense of sort of nurturing and healing that I feel out here. So even just this sitting is doing something to help. It might be that it doesn't change the uncomfortable feelings at all, and that's okay. They have a purpose to serve. It might not be clear what it is immediately, but it's just allowing that, allowing them to stay until they've done their job, but not fighting with them and trying to push them out the door. But not letting them run the party either. Letting other voices have a say too. And that's very much what I'm finding out here. There are lots of different voices. It's not just one. It's a whole sort of tapestry of different elements. Just moving my attention just lightly between each. So, yes, I hope that's true for your morning too. That you're able just to find a little space and able to find a little peace with things, even if they're difficult things.